Our spine-chilling tale begins with a simple babysitting gig for a wealthy family in their luxurious estate. The protagonist of our story, an experienced babysitter, had been tasked with the care of two children, a sprightly 8-year-old boy full of energy and his 12-year-old sister, wise beyond her years. The setting was grand, a sprawling mansion nestled amidst manicured gardens, an opulent guest house, and a shimmering pool that reflected the setting sun. The evening started off as any other would, with the babysitter settling the children into their routine, ensuring they had their dinners, and tucking them into their beds. The children were well behaved, their innocent laughter echoing through the grand halls of the house. The mansion, usually bustling with activity, was unusually quiet that night, as the parents had taken a weekend getaway, leaving the babysitter in charge. The guest house, where they were to spend the night, was a world in itself. Plush furnishings, state-of-the-art amenities, and the comforting hum of the central heating system added to the illusion of a normal evening. The babysitter, comforted by the children's peaceful slumber, settled into the tranquility of the night. As the clock struck 9, the last rays of the sun disappeared behind the horizon, and the mansion was bathed in the soft glow of the moonlight. The chirping of the crickets and the rustling of the wind through the trees were the only sounds that punctuated the silence of the night. But as the darkness grew, so did an unsettling sense of foreboding. The house, once comforting, now seemed to loom ominously, its shadows stretching across the manicured lawns. An eerie feeling of being watched began to take hold, a feeling that they were not alone in the vast estate. As the sun set, a sense of unease began to creep in, hinting at the horrors that lay ahead. As the night grew darker, the house started revealing its eerie secrets. The once tranquil mansion, filled with the echoes of laughter and joy, had transformed into a crypt of unsettling noises. The ticking of the antique clock in the hallway seemed to grow louder with each passing second, its rhythmic pulse echoing through the silent corridors. The wind outside whistled a mournful tune, rustling the leaves and causing the branches to scrape against the window panes. Each gust seemed to carry a whisper, a hushed warning of the impending doom. The youngest daughter, a mere child of 6, started to whimper, her innocent eyes wide with fear. Her soft sobs echoed through the guest house, a chilling testament to the terror that had gripped her heart. The narrator, trying to maintain a brave face, couldn't shake off the sense of unease that clung to the air. It was as if the house itself was alive, its walls breathing out a symphony of strange noises. The creaking floorboards, the distant sound of something scurrying within the walls, the occasional thud from upstairs, each noise adding another layer to the growing sense of dread. The narrator attempted to soothe the frightened child, telling her stories of brave knights and magical creatures, but the darkness seemed to swallow their words, leaving behind an unsettling silence. The lights flickered ominously, casting long, distorted shadows that danced on the walls. Each shadow seemed to take on a life of its own, morphing into grotesque shapes that fueled the growing terror. As the minutes ticked by, the noises grew louder and more frequent. The wind howled with renewed vigor, the branches scraping against the windows like skeletal fingers. The house groaned under the onslaught, its every creak and moan reverberating through the night. The once luxurious house now seemed to be a maze of shadows, each corner potentially hiding a new terror. The babysitter and the child huddled together, their hearts pounding in sync with the ticking clock, waiting for the night to end, hoping for the dawn to break and chase away the darkness that had shrouded their refuge in fear. The bone-chilling cold of the night brought with it an unwelcome guest. As the evening wore on, something caught the narrator's eye. A shadowy figure lurking just outside the guest house, peering through the window. It was a sight that sent shivers down the spine and froze the blood in their veins. A sinister presence, uninvited and unwelcome, was now part of this harrowing tale. The figure was shrouded in the darkness of the night, its form barely discernible. Yet its presence was palpable, an ominous entity that seemed to feed off the fear it induced. The once comforting solitude of the guest house now felt like a double-edged sword, offering both isolation and exposure. The panic was now a living, breathing entity in the room, its icy fingers slowly coiling around their hearts. Each tick of the clock amplified the dread, the silence interrupted only by their own heartbeat echoing in their ears. The realization hit them like a cold gust of wind. They were not alone. Not. Terror clawed at their hearts as they dialed the 3 digits that spelled hope. 911. The narrator's hands shook as they held the phone, their voice trembling as they relayed their fears to the dispatcher. The room was filled with an oppressive silence, broken only by the low whisper of their frantic conversation. Their words tumbled out in a rush, painting a chilling picture of the sinister presence lurking outside. The dispatcher's calm voice was a stark contrast to the chaos unfolding around them. Instructions were given, reassurances made, but the icy grip of terror remained. The children huddled close, their wide eyes reflecting the fear that echoed in the narrator's voice. A promise of help was made, but the wait was agonizing. The seconds ticked by like hours, each one stretching the tension to breaking point. The looming threat outside seemed to grow with every passing moment, adding to the palpable fear within the guest house. Every passing second was a battle against fear, every noise a potential threat. The wailing sirens in the distance were a beacon of hope in the terrifying darkness. The tension was palpable as the flashing red and blue lights cut through the night, illuminating the grand estate. The police had arrived, their stern faces a stark contrast to the opulence of the surroundings. The officers, experienced and battle-hardened, immediately took charge of the situation. They began their investigation methodically, their trained eyes scanning the environment for any signs of intrusion. The babysitter, with a heart pounding like a drum, relayed the chilling events of the evening. The children, wide-eyed and frightened, clung to each other, their innocence brutally interrupted by the night's events. As the officers ventured into the main house, the silence was deafening. Each creak of the floorboards, every rustle of the curtains, magnified the suspense. The house, once a symbol of wealth and comfort, was now a maze of fear, its every corner a potential hideout for the intruder. And then came the horrifying discovery. The intruder had indeed been inside the house. The officers found signs of forced entry, belongings tossed around in a chaotic search, a sinister testament to the uninvited guest. The realization sent a chill down everyone's spine. The danger was real. The threat had been inside their sanctuary. The police, with their steely resolve, reassured the terrified babysitter and children. They promised to leave no stone unturned in their pursuit of the intruder. Their presence brought a sense of security, their professionalism a beacon of hope amidst the terror. Yet, the discovery of the intruder's presence within the main house had changed everything. The luxurious estate, once a haven of safety and comfort, had been violated. The grandeur of the property was now overshadowed by a menacing aura of fear. The house had become a crime scene, the luxurious estate now a playground for fear. In the face of danger, the pool house became their fortress. A sanctuary of safety within the sprawling estate, it was here the babysitter and the children retreated, their hearts pounding with fear. The once cheerful atmosphere of this leisure space was now filled with a deafening silence, broken only by the distant sirens and their own shallow breaths. Their eyes darted around the dimly lit room, the shadows playing tricks on their terrified minds. The once inviting pool now mirrored the moonlight, casting an eerie glow around them. They huddled together in the corner, praying for the ordeal to end, their tiny hearts beating in unison with the ticking of the grand clock. The minutes felt like hours, each second stretching into an eternity. They waited silently for the police to apprehend the intruder, the echoes of their own fears bouncing off the walls. As they huddled together in the pool house, the night outside held its breath, waiting for the terror to end. As the dawn broke, it shed light on the terrifying events of the night. The once luxurious and comforting guest house was now a stark reminder of a nightmarish encounter. The echoes of fear and panic were replaced by a deafening silence, only interrupted by the distant chatter of the police officers. The babysitter, the children, they had all survived the night, but not without bearing the weight of the horrifying memories that were now etched in their minds. The children were safe, and the intruder was apprehended. A sense of relief washed over them, but the chilling events of the night had left a lasting impact. The once ordinary babysitting gig had turned into a terrifying ordeal, forever changing their perception of safety and solitude. Remember, even in the most ordinary situations, danger can lurk where you least expect it. Sleep well, and beware of the shadows.